Being a tourist attraction isn't easy, especially when you are doing something as important as guarding the royal family. These highly trained soldiers represent the pinnacle of the British forces, so it's always difficult seeing arrogant people pushing their luck with the royal guards. Let's take the cavalry, for example. When the signs posted all over aren't enough for the tourists, there is always the occasional situation that looks something like this. As you can imagine, this happens all the time. It happens so often that the horse may bite or kick signs are posted next to every spot where the royal guards do their routes. Yet always without fail, almost on a weekly basis, people get bit. It's not a pony, it's a horse trained to go to war if needed. Thankfully, this young lady didn't have any lasting consequences. Just a lesson that she had to learn the hard way. She has no one else to blame but herself. That's why it's always annoying when people get offended by the shouting of the guards. I mean, they are doing it not only for their safety, but also for the people's safety as well. Don't know what I am talking about? Let me show you. Get back! The fact that she still went back in for a quick photo, even after he warned her, is just crazy. The disrespect toward these brave guards is crazy. It's common sense to respect someone's culture. As this is a tradition that started centuries ago, it's safe to say that it's part of British culture. Here is a fun fact for you. The British Royal Guard, particularly the Grenadier Guards, has a history that dates back to 1656. Most of them have been involved in various military campaigns throughout the years, so keep in mind that a lot of them are war veterans as well. So if you see something like this, don't be surprised. Marching routes are embedded in their training, and for a reason, they are marked in various ways. Delay is something they don't accept, so when you hear them yelling, you better make way, because if you don't, you might end up as that lady. Another thing to keep in mind is the following. The King's Guard is stationed at Buckingham Palace, which is considered a high security zone. It's something that should always be considered, especially if you decide to visit it with your kid. You might think that it's rude, but as this guard is doing his job, so should the parents. Their job is to keep their kids close and in check, especially when near a marching route. Thankfully, most of the controversial situations happen near the sentries, so people rarely get trampled like this. Instead, they mostly get yelled at, and sometimes even pushed, but not by the guard. The way this lady fell was exaggerated, to say the least. But she had her legs crossed, making even the slightest push dangerous. Thankfully, in the end, she just got embarrassed, and she wasn't hurt. Keep in mind that it's the Royal Guard's goodwill that she had the opportunity to come so close. Since usually there is a perimeter that should be respected, unfortunately it's rarely respected, sometimes it's even disrespected. To give you some backstory, the guard asked the soldier to help him since his horse was feeling a bit anxious at the time when the planned route had to be taken. The soldier cleared the path for it, but no one expected a rude tourist going into the sentry point, completely ignoring and disrespecting both the soldier and the Royal Guard. People are so arrogant they don't understand that they can be arrested for behavior like that. If you don't trust me, just try to remember the incident with the TikToker. If you don't remember it, let me refresh your memory.
Stop being so goddamn rude. Fuck off.
This gentleman told the boy to show some respect and quit being annoying. After laughing it off and acting like a garbage human being, he started getting aggressive all of a sudden.
Piss off! Piss off! Fuck you touching, you know? Piss off! Piss off! Piss off!
After trying to act like a big man, he finally got what he deserved in the first place. He got arrested. The police were already called as soon as he started harassing the Royal Guard. Let's just say all the incriminating things that happened in between are just cosmic karma. This isn't a rarity. People mess with the horses even more than the guards, so the guards have to draw the line.
Get off the range! Get off the range! Get off the range!
These people can laugh all they want, but they should be hoping for the police officers to escort them out, since sometimes, if you really push your luck, the Royal Guard might just decide to take things into his own hands, and trust me, they have some powerful hands.
Listen, he's doing his job, don't be an idiot.
You can't do nothing.
He went to sleep. The guard had enough and decided to take care of the problem by himself. Keep this in mind when you decide to be a clown and mess with the Royal Guard. This isn't even the worst that can happen. Take a look at this.
His gun is jammed. Can you see the knife on top of it? You can't shoot.
Get back from the Queen's Guard!
Stand back from the Queen's Guard!
For more than 5 centuries, the King's Guard, formerly known as the Queen's Guard, has provided round-the-clock protection to the British royal family and their estates. These elite warriors are not there for fun. Despite their unusual costumes and fluffy helmets, they take their duties seriously.
Do not touch!
Today, we've got some excellent examples of what not to do when trying to approach the Royal Guard. To get things started, let's watch this video.
Do not touch the King's Guard!
This woman thought it was a good idea to take a selfie while touching the guard. Well, it wasn't. The guard lost his temper. He'd had enough nonsense for one day. He turned around with his raised sword and shot the tourist a look that made her rethink every choice she had made in her life up until that point. Now, we know idiots are everywhere, but in this next clip, this guy was competing for first place.
Stop being so goddamn rude. You rude bastard. You're a sausage.
A tourist, in an attempt to make some content for a video, was being incredibly disrespectful by bothering this royal guard with awkward questions and stuffing a microphone in his face. Even though the guards are not allowed to speak to tourists, his actions annoyed other visitors waiting for photos, leading to a heated argument.
Stop being so goddamn rude. You rude bastard. You're a sausage.
The situation quickly turned into a fight, and police had to step in and arrest the wannabe news reporter. This next video, we can see that some people go to extreme limits to try and annoy the guards. Although this guy was having the time of his life, the guard in the back was not enjoying this game. To avoid further disturbance, the Royal Guard decided to leave. This was to avoid being included in the game of this dumb idiot. Meanwhile, a military policeman came and asked the boy to stop playing the game and leave. The Royal Guard returned soon after the prankster left the place. This brings us to the next example of peak tourist behavior.
Stand back with wings like God! Not cut the ring!
As members of the Royal Guard, they should be approached with extreme caution due to their impulsive nature. Nonetheless, it seems that some tourists still can't help but try their luck. They approach closer and closer, trying to capture the perfect selfie, or worse, pretending to ride off into the sunset while gripping the reins. Maybe to get more Instagram likes? Who knows? Well, the only problem with that fantasy is that there is never a happy ending. And if you need more proof, watch the clip.
Stand back with wings like God! Not cut the ring!
In this next example, Karen chose to cross the Royal Guard's personal space in an attempt to try their patience. This is typical tourist behavior. In her excitement to take pictures, she neglected to respect personal space. She decided to come extremely close to a guard, as if she were posing with a statue. This was enough to provoke him. He stopped on the ground and gave her a threatening look to remind her of her limits. Let's look at another lady who continued the tradition of disobeying the warning signs. This ignorant lady came too close to the horse to take a photo, despite the clear warning signs that say, "Don't touch the horse." A guard shouted for her to stay away for the first time, but she didn't stop there. In her excitement, she tried to get closer to the horse again, but this time she made the mistake of holding the rein. If you found that perfect example of an epic fail, then wait till you see this next clip. This overconfident couple was trying to feed the horse despite clear signs warning them to stay away from these horses. Initially, the guard tolerated their stupidity. Ultimately, he called the authorities to deal with the man. The police calmly dealt with the man. The man was unhappy with the warning and started arguing with the police. This was a good example of how people behave when you are kind to them. If you allow them, they will always try harder. Maybe that's why in this situation, the Royal Guard didn't have any patience for the tourist who was unknowingly blocking his path. They did laugh it off, as we can see. But thankfully this time, the tourist found the humor in it. He didn't complain as the gentleman from the previous situation. At least this tourist showed some respect toward the Royal Guard and moved as soon as he heard him. However, the same can't be said about this lady.
Guard on the right!
She really tried ignoring the warning. One can only hope that being so cringe is worth the picture. But make no mistake, she isn't the only one who tries this. It happens time and time again.
Do not cut the ring!
The Royal Guards have it tough sometimes. Is it so hard to understand that it's not a petting zoo, and that the guards are there to do just that? Guard their posts, not yell at tourists. Even worse than that is doing the same thing with people. This gentleman never heard of personal space, that's for sure. You can take pictures and have your Facebook and Instagram posts, but do not touch the Royal Guard. I mean, that should be clear by now. Here is a fun fact for you. There are white lines on the floor, which indicate how close you can come to almost everything in the palace. Yet even after someone draws it for them, some people still don't understand. Last but not least, we have the strange instance of the traveler who couldn't resist touching the guard's face.
Do not touch the Queen's Guard!
Many tourists take photos with the guards. It is acceptable if you don't touch them. However, they are not statues placed in a museum. A man took a photo with a royal guard and went on his way. Suddenly, he couldn't control and keep his hands to himself, like many other foolish tourists. He thought he couldn't miss the chance to touch a royal guard, so he did. What was his reward for doing this? Getting his head yelled off by the royal guard. The moral of the story is, don't mess with the royal guard. Even though these guards act like robots, that doesn't mean anyone should treat them disrespectfully. They're on duty, and if you try to mess with them, you might just end up being a clown.
Get back from the Queen's Guard! Get off the fence! Get back! Bye-bye! Get back from the Queen's Guard!
The British Royal Guards are known for their serious looks, flawless uniforms, and controlled attitude. These soldiers, in charge of defending the nation's most sensitive places, are not here to amuse you. However, some visitors, unaware of this truth, feel they can provoke or taunt the guards without consequences. Spoiler alert, they're wrong. In one silly case, a woman, maybe believing she was the star of her own reality show, stepped straight in front of a royal guard. The guard, remaining professional, sighed in disgust before giving her a strong push. This wasn't a subtle shove, it was a direct message. You're in my way. She stumbled back, perhaps reconsidering her decision to mess with a man wearing a bearskin cap. Next, we have a tourist who felt it was a good idea to sneak up on a guard's personal space, maybe hoping to strike up a nice conversation. How did the guard react? A single, frightening gaze was all it needed to send the man fleeing, understanding too late that the Queen's Guard isn't looking for new pals. In another crazy incident, a guy, feeling overconfident, continued to enter a guard's zone, hoping to provoke a reaction. The guard, unwavering, shoved the guy away with the accuracy of a trained statue. The crowd behind him presumably questioned whether they were seeing a comedy act, but the guard's unshakable manner made it plain that this was no joke.
I'm not being harmed, just, it's fun. But he can't do nothing, he can't do...
Listen, he's doing his job, don't be an idiot.
He can't do nothing.
The ridiculousness does not end there. Another tourist, despite a plainly obvious notice, believed it was a good idea to approach one of the guard's horses. To make matters worse, she grabbed the horse's reins as if it were a normal bicycle. The guard, who had been patient up until now, snapped, shouting at her in a tone that made her wish she had paid more attention to the sign. Next, there's the lady in the yellow outfit who thought a royal guard would be the ideal Instagram prop. She came too close and crossed a line she shouldn't have, and the guard made sure she knew. His outburst frightened her so much that she ran before even capturing the shot she wanted. She learnt the hard way that these guards do not care about your social media posts.
Do not touch the King's Guard.
Then there's the visitor, who believed she would run into the royal guards on their march. It was almost as if she were playing a real-life version of Frogger, except instead of avoiding traffic, she dodged troops. The soldiers barely stopped in their precise formation when they instructed her to make way. She was left unhappy, blocking these trained soldiers.
Bye-bye!
Another visitor, entirely unaware of the King's Guards advancing towards him, was lost in his own world, perhaps thinking about his next binge watch. With his headphones on, he didn't notice the guards until one of them screamed, "Make way!" He was startled and swiftly moved out of the path, learning an important lesson. Stay alert when the King's Guards are on the move. Then there's the group of visitors who decided it was a good idea to sunbathe on the road, completely unaware that the royal guards were about to march directly over them. The soldiers marched by without hesitation, maintaining their strict order and confusing the tourists. They immediately recognized that if the royal guards are on the move, they should get out of the path or risk becoming a human speed bump.
Whoa. Arrest me, sir.
Another ridiculous incident occurred when a visitor decided it would be funny to do a stupid dance in front of a royal guard. The visitor, maybe expecting to get a laugh from viewers, stepped right into the guard's path and began dancing wildly. The guard was not amused. Without missing a beat, he yelled, "Make way!" and the dancing foreigner froze in mid-movement. The visitor immediately understood this wasn't a game and fled, ashamed by his unsuccessful attempt to entertain. We can't forget about the social media junkies. A visitor, anxious to take the ideal selfie with a royal guard, kept getting closer and closer, attempting to get the guard in the picture. Despite the guard's repeated warnings, the tourist ignored all warnings and continued to breach the guard's personal space. Finally, the guard, keeping his cool but plainly fired up, said, "Step back!" The traveler was surprised by the unexpected lesson and almost dropped his phone in astonishment before backing away, recognizing he had crossed the line.
It was built by Henry VIII.
Get back!
Finally, there's the woman who threw her glove at a royal guard and expected him to get it like a trained dog. Of course, the guard didn't do that. She waited there, waiting in vain for a response, until a palace staffer returned her glove, most likely explaining that the guard's job is to safeguard the nation, not play fetch. This was perhaps the moment she learned that royal guards aren't simply for show. They're real soldiers with real responsibilities.
Right, he's a soldier, he serves his country, and he deserves to be treated with a little bit of respect. Throwing your gloves at him isn't going to work, is it really?
The Royal Guards are more than simply a part of Britain's rich past. They are active defenders who should be respected. These events serve as a reminder that, while it may be tempting to test their patience, it is always better to maintain your distance and show appropriate respect. After all, you don't want to be the next person who learns this the hard way.
Get back! Step back!
But hey, they're not always that strict. Even the harsh royal guards can't help but smile. Despite their image as rigid, there are times when a tourist's antics or an unforeseen event are simply too hilarious to resist. Whether it's a foolish child mimicking their march or an amusing outfit that takes them off guard, these fleeting moments of entertainment show that, underneath those serious expressions, they are still people. While they don't frequently break character, when they do, it serves as a reminder that even the most disciplined troops have a sense of humor.
I know him. He was never talkative. I remember him in school. He used to sit by himself and read books. I was just this guy fooling around and having fun. He was just reading. You were asking questions, you answer with his head. Yeah, no, What's your name? No. What? Is that a name?
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe for more amazing videos. Thank you all for watching.
Get on the fence! Get off the fence! Off the right!
How many times do we have to see situations like these? We can only hope that people will start facing the fact that they can't mess with the Royal Guards. The horses used by the British Royal Guard, also known as the Household Cavalry. They are primarily bred for their strength, agility, and temperament. One interesting fact is that these horses are often black, as black horses were traditionally preferred for ceremonial purposes. And not purposes like this one. He did try telling her nicely, but when he saw that she didn't even bat an eye at him, some yelling was in order. Even the horse seemed happy that she got scared away. But you won't believe what happened just seconds after.
Let go! Run!
The amount of disrespect displayed every day towards these guards is just incredible. It's no wonder that they gave up on the nice and quiet approach and decided to deal with situations in this way.
Oh! Get yourself away!
I mean, he was thinking he could clown around without any consequences. The reality is, these stupid people lack respect. Not all of them, but because of individuals like these, situations like this next one happen. That woman probably didn't deserve that. I mean, she did have a path she could follow to avoid getting bumped. But yeah, unlike her, this next tourist had it coming.
It's a male character, I'm not going to tell you which one it is.
He didn't care that the horse was getting anxious and just continued holding on. At first, his initial reaction was to laugh, but after getting back to his friends, it seemed like someone's ego was hurt. The cops saw the tourist looking at the royal guard and stepped in. Honestly, this cop's intervention is a good sign. At least now we can see that the royal guard was taken seriously by the tourists. That's very important, because sometimes tourists will literally push their luck as far as they can. The cameraman, probably the mother or father of this bunch, stopped filming as soon as he saw the guard's reaction. Too bad, as it seemed like a nice jump scare. Speaking of scary things, here is something to consider when visiting Buckingham Palace. It seems like this post didn't have the warning signs about the horses. After this, I am sure that some signs will be posted around that area as well. But will it actually make a difference? This is why I posed that question. This young lady was polite enough to ask. Keep in mind that there is a sign, a line, and also the fact that the royal guard never really approved her request. Sometimes the guards do talk with the tourists, and it's truly heartwarming. The royal guard saw that the woman was scared, so he calmly instructed her where to touch the horse, without disturbing it. She acknowledged the guard and showed respect. In turn, he did the same. She even got to know the horse's name. Well-mannered people are always appreciated, unlike these kids, who broke the rules and got a royal lesson from one of the guards.
Get off the fence!
It's not always the kids who need to be disciplined. Sometimes it's grown adults as well. Soldiers outside the castle can take it a bit easier. You will still be shouted at with the now iconic "make way" phrase, but this is what happens when you mess around the wrong areas.
Get fucked! Get fucked!
The poor guy did seem kinda lost, but the guards are there to make sure that doesn't happen as well. I don't recommend being lost around the Royal Guards, because situations like these are bound to happen.
Coming down, Henry. Mine.
Bye bye!
Someone managed to grab him just in time. Whatever the picture idea was, it should be clear by now that these guards don't play around.
Stand back to the King Lifeguard!
After seeing what happened, another Royal Guard decided to come by to check on his work buddy. This might seem excessive, but shortly after police officers came by and nicely explained to the gentleman why getting your hands off the reins is important.
You're not meant to grab the reins, okay, for safety reasons, because when you grab the reins, you take control of the horse, okay? So you mustn't do that, okay? Alright, don't do it. That's fine. Alright, just be careful, don't forget.
This means that taking pictures could lead to a problem, not only for the tourists, but for the guard that's on the horse as well. It does make total sense, but some people just don't care. As you can see, the horses get anxious when someone who isn't a Royal Guard tries to control them. Speaking of horses, take a look at this hilarious situation. If you want to stay close to me, I might just decide to stand on you, literally. The tourist wasn't a crybaby about it. He saw the humor in it as well. The kid from the next clip didn't get stood on, but he did get nibbled on. These Royal Guards deserve respect, including their trusty four-legged companions. So when you hear them yelling, "Make way," you better react like this crowd.
Make way!
As he marches away, so do we from this video. We hope you like it. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to show us your support.